Welcome to the Caravan Show, where we discuss all things caravans. That's right, everything you need to know about caravans, from weights, towing, maintenance, appliances, renovations, buying a caravan, repairs, destinations and reviews. We'll also chat with some Aussie legends, manufacturers, suppliers and of course people who love caravans. Take it away, Roy.
G'day everyone, it's Roy here from the Caravan Show. We're on doing another podcast and we are very excited to say that we've got a special guest, Dennis Wellington. Now Dennis, you're the Mayor of, is it Albany or Albany?
No, we shoot people who say Albany, so it's Albany.
Albany, good on you. We were sitting here debating this before I rang. Was it Albany or Albany? And I think the money was on Albany.
That's correct.
Now, you're the mayor there, but you're a local. You've been in this position for quite some time, I understand.
Yeah, I've been mayor for the last 9 years and born in Albany quite some time ago, and went away for about 8 years to the city and to travel overseas a little bit, and then came back. So been most of my life here. Yep.
So you saw the light and decided to head back to Albany?
Well, yeah, I had a fair look around, and mostly been playing sport in the metropolitan area, etc., and then decided that, to bring up a family, there's no better spot than what we've got here. So I came back, and it's been a great exercise ever since. Since, having said that, the family left as soon as they could. So
as they do.
The kids go away, as they do. But yeah, this is home for me.
So Albany's at the very bottom of Western Australia. So you're right down the very bottom. Is that right? Or?
Well, Perth's the most isolated capital city in the world, and we're 400 k's south of that. So we're a little bit isolated, which has not been bad in this current times, because the COVID-19 thing hasn't impacted us in great lumps. I think we've had 8 or 9 cases, and none currently, and none recently. So, we're right on the what we call the amazing South Coast.
So those cases that you did have, Dennis, were they ones from ships?
All of them. All of them
yeah.
were people on ships, yeah, because this is a fairly big retirement area, and cruise ships are a pretty popular pastime. But every one of them that you contracted the virus was on a ship. Yeah.
You were expecting to see less and less people, certainly in the short term at least, heading out on ships, and certainly not heading out on aeroplanes. And of course, if they're not going anywhere, then we want them to go somewhere we'd rather them go. And destinations such as Albany needs to be on their list. 400 k's from Perth, you're not that far for people to travel.
No, it's not that far. It's about 4.5 hours without a van, probably about 5.5 with a van on it. There's good passing lanes. The roads are good, and there's a whole region. If you go around the southwest down through Bunbury, Busselton, Margaret River, and then around the bottom there, it's a fantastic tourist drive, and a lot of people do that. We see a lot of caravan people coming through here.
And I believe you've got a number of caravan parks in your region?
We have 11, yes, in our region, 11 parks. And
free camp sites as well?
There are an extra 9 nature-based campsites that are run by the City of Albany. So in all, you'll end up with about 20.
Yep.
And
the place. So, over and above that, I believe you've also got the camp stays.
We have camp stays for people that just want to camp out, etc. So we try and cater for people that are keen to visit, and we do have a lot of people, particularly in the metropolitan area in WA, that want to get out, so we try and cater for them. There's a lot of bush around here. I mean, the city of Albany is about 4,300 square kilometres, so there's a lot of farmland, there's a lot of bushland, a lot of national parks, etc., and so places to stay and places to visit.
You've got a population of around about
37,500.
37,500 people.
That's in the city of Albany, and taking in the region, we're up to about 58,000.
So how heavily affected have you been by this COVID-19? I mean, I know everywhere's been affected, but regional areas in particular seem to be doing it pretty tough.
We were totally shut down. There weren't people weren't allowed to come down from Perth or anything like that. So the tourism industry, it was completely shut down, and it was for an 8-week period where they had nothing. So the first weekend that they were open was last weekend, which is our long weekend in Western Australia, which was Western Australia Day, and we were full. So they took the opportunity up and beached immediately.
Yeah, and we want to see more of that, obviously.
Oh, yeah, the more the merrier. I mean, as we say, that the borders are still shut in terms of the state borders. So in WA, it's internal at the moment. And as soon as they open the state borders, I think they're going to be open sometime before they open the international borders.
Yeah, and so, I guess there's a lesson there, Dennis, isn't there? I mean, at the end of the day, everyone keeps travelling either overseas or even within Australia, thousands of kilometres. But in reality, on our doorsteps, literally on our doorsteps, are amazing things to see that, surprisingly, not a lot of locals go and visit. So, people will travel all the way from Western Australia into Queensland, and Queenslanders go into Western Australia, and half the time they haven't even seen what's on their doorstep. Now's a great time while these borders are closed to go and do that, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's an excellent opportunity, and quite frankly, we have a lot to offer, but it's up to the industry itself as well to make sure that those offers are good, interesting, friendly, welcoming, all of those sorts of things, and we're talking to our industry down here to make sure that everyone who does visit has a good time.
Yeah. And, I've spoken to so many mayors out there now, and the same message keeps coming across. We've got the same language, we've got the same currency, we know what the food is, we know what the laws are. It's a hell of a lot nicer to travel within our own states or within our own country than it is to do these overseas trips. And maybe, just maybe, we'll start to spend some money internally where we desperately need it.
I think so. I think that's going to be a necessary part of the recovery, and tourism is going to be a major part of that. And I mean, quite frankly, the money's made round to go round, and it's got to go round in a circle and back to square one, etc. So we've got to get that going. And it's interesting you say we've got all those things in common. The only things we probably don't have in common is our sporting fraternities, and it's a democracy. You guys are allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, I get that. I've heard that before somewhere. I'm not sure, but anyway, it certainly didn't come from Joe Bielke-Peterson. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
In your area, you've got lots of very unique features, though, haven't you? You've got some things that are really specifically unique to your locations, things that they're not going to see elsewhere.
Well, Western Australia tends to be pretty flat, and we've probably got the only hills of any consequence in WA down in this region. A lot of parks. Our whole coastline is probably granite-based with crystal white sand on the beaches and very fine sand, so it's something that you don't find in a lot of places. So it is unique. The waters around here tend to be a bit cool because we're on the borders of the Southern Ocean, but crystal clear at the same time. So great fishing, great swimming, all of those sorts of things.
I was going to ask that. What's the fishing like? It's a very commonly asked question, Is there fishing there?
Yeah, well, right at the moment we have a salmon season, so the salmon are running and they're just in huge lumps. So the salmon fishermen are out there with their nets, etc. But a lot of people out with their rods, etc., and catching salmon off the rocks, etc. It is a dangerous exercise here, and particularly in Albany, that we insist that people wear a life jacket, because we have such a thing as called king waves, where sort of three waves bank up on one, and all of a sudden you're looking at a nice flat ocean and this wave comes through and takes people out. So we make sure that they're pretty well safeguarded, and also they should be anchored to the rocks and the anchor points for that as well, to protect their safeguard. But it's a very, very popular pastime.
Good. And I'm pleased to hear that they're being given the right advice on how to look after themselves.
Yeah.
Of course, you're also quite a historic area too, with whaling having played a big part in your history, isn't it?
That's correct. We're the first settlement in Western Australia in 1826. They landed here on Christmas Day. So, and there was a couple of whaling stations. There was a Norwegian one to start with, and then the Change whaling station, which is now a museum of whaling, which is, I think, about the only one in Australia. And you can go through and see the skeletons of whales, etc., and see the movies and the history. I can remember going out there as a child and leaving my lunch behind because the smell was absolutely horrific. But watching the whales getting cut up, it was just an awesome exercise. And standing there on the beach watching the sharks attack the carcasses that were sort of lined up, waiting to get flensed, etc. It was a unique exercise, but that closed down in about 1978. So that's quite some time ago, but the Wellington Museum is of great interest to a lot of people.
Yeah, this is something that's also important to people travelling around, holiday makers and people interested in history. And we go overseas a lot for history as well, and we go overseas a lot for these pristine beaches and so forth. But actually, we've got a lot of this still to offer in Australia, and there in Albany, you've got a wonderful history with this whaling. That some of the best beaches, in the world, let's face it, and being invited by the locals to be there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we all recognise tourism is our second biggest industry. So accepting people coming down here is very important. We're primarily agriculturally based in there, but tourism our second biggest industry, and a lot of facilities in terms of people where people can stay, but also a lot of things that people can see and do, which makes it interesting.
Yeah, that whaling that we were talking about before, of course, that industry's now changed from whaling in the traditional way to now whale sightseeing. So I'm assuming you've got boats going out to do whale watching as well.
Whale watching as well, and I've been out on a couple of them. It's a fantastic exercise when you see them out there, and the season goes through now until about September. And the humpbacks were coming through, but we have the southern right whale, which is the main one that comes around here. They come up from the Antarctic to breed and look after their babies in the warmer waters for this time of the year. Then they go back for the summer period back down there to feed. But mum doesn't eat while she's up here, so she tends to lose a bit of weight. But the baby grows and nurtures for the safe waters that we've got around here for them to do that. And our main beach, which is Middleton Beach, quite often you can be walking along the beach and just watching a whale just out in the water, not 100 metres away.
Oh, wow. So you don't actually need to go out in the boats to see them. All you got to do is land on the beaches to see them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you just walk around the headland, etc., and all of that, yeah.
And, of course, while this is all happening, you haven't lost base with, current industry and, modern life trends. So, for example, I'm on the phone to you right now on a mobile phone, so reception's quite good there. I assume that you've got good infrastructure for telecommunications. And
yes.
I notice you've got your McDonald's and your Hungry Jack's are local as well.
Yes, that's right. And we've got an application in, I think, tomorrow for our second McDonald's franchise down here. But, I mean, the town of 37,500 people. We've got most facilities. We've got a very good hospital service and great schools and that sort of thing, and all of the digital necessary to run a business or carry on a business from wherever you are. So all of those facilities are available.
Yeah. Including, and this again is important to our listeners, facilities for caravan repairs and car repairs.
Yes, there's a lot of those in terms of what's around, because the farming area in particular have a lot of vehicles, and I know the local ourselves and the local authority, we've got 63 vehicles, etc. So facilities available through that for car repairs, and particularly for caravan repairs. There's a couple of caravan repair places. One, Cameron's Caravans, is probably one of the biggest ones in the state, and they do an extraordinary amount of business, and they're out in the same area as all of the car yards, etc. And I think just about every franchise except for the super luxury ones are down here. So we got most of those bases covered.
Beautiful. So you've got lots of restaurants and clubs and things like that?
Yep, quite a few restaurants. They're all just coming out of their takeaway phase at the moment, but there's a big selection of restaurants. We're just having our first 4-star hotel being built at the moment. They're got up to roof height at the moment. It's a 5-story hotel with 100-odd rooms going into that. A lot of motels, etc., but caravan parks and camping sites covered pretty well all the way through.
Yep. So you've got restaurants, you've got good facilities with hospitals and all those sorts of things as well. Shopping centres.
Yep.
What about things such as markets? Markets seem to be very popular with caravanners. They like to potter around markets on a Sunday.
We have a farmers market on a Saturday morning, every Saturday morning, which is generally packed out. And they start at 8 o'clock and go through till 12. So it's an exercise where that is very, very popular. We're looking at there's another one of the seafood markets down on the foreshore that are open on the Sunday, and we've just started. There's a few people who've heard of a fellow by the name of Twiggy Forrest who's got the odd shekel in his pocket. He's just bought all the aquaculture leases down here, and his plan is to turn it into the biggest production of oysters and mussels in Australia, going from 20,000 dozen a year to 1.5 million. So he'll do that over the next couple of years. So
Wow.
It's a major infrastructure for that, and then putting in a seafood restaurant, all those sorts of things. So if you want seafood, this is a great place for it.
So, yeah, seafood's a great place. Actually, I'm just changing the subject slightly, but it is kind of on the same vein. I was absolutely amazed to find out how many public conveniences you've got in your area.
41, yeah.
41 public toilets. That's fantastic. I know it's a bit weird, but there's nothing worse than landing in a town, desperate to go and not being able to find something. So, to me, it was an important one anyway.
Well, we think it's pretty important. It provided a problem through the COVID-19 thing when everybody was chasing toilet paper, because we had to close about 38 of them because the toilet paper kept getting stolen. But that's stopped now, fortunately, so they're back all open again. But we keep those in pretty good order. We have a contract for a cleaning service. They're cleaned every morning, etc., so they're neat, clean and tidy so people can use them. And the same with barbecue facilities around the major beaches, etc. All of those are free. The gas provided, etc., and people can just stop and hook into a barbecue, etc., and those are available for anyone who wants to stop at any time.
How would you describe the road conditions in your area?
Roads are very important to us because the amount of distance you travel around Western Australia, and we have 800 kilometres of gravel roads and 750 kilometres of bitumen roads, and we're a little bit paranoid about roads because getting our produce to market has got to come down a bitumen road, etc. So we do a lot of roads, and we're very mindful of the fact of passing lanes. Down the Albany Highway, which comes down from Perth, there's good passing lanes in that one. The one going east at the moment is a bit short of passing lanes, but we just received $15 million from the government to do some more passing lanes out there. So wherever there is possible, our roads are particularly good.
And it sounds like your council's well behind the idea of promoting tourism.
We do. We play the political game a little bit, and we love elections, and we're seen as somewhat of a marginal seat down here. So the best thing that can happen is politicians walking around, quite frankly, at election time with some money in their pocket. So we get it out of them. And the last time we got $1 million for over a 4-year period to promote our tourism, specifically just for marketing tourism. So we'll go again for that for the next election, which is 9 months away. So we're very keen. The city is very keen on tourism, and we run the visitor centre, etc., down here, and we think the dynamic is changing in visitor centres, but we're just looking now at buying an app which will have every facility, every restaurant, every campsite and everything on that, and we'll be recommending to people, as soon as you hit this area, download this free app. It'll have all the maps on it as well, so you got all the facilities there. So in the next 12 months, anybody that comes into this town will be able to have an app on their phone, because everyone basically these days has got a phone, and they'll be able to access every point in the whole region.
That's brilliant. Absolutely love the sound of that. Now, a tough one for you, Dennis, and I've been asking everyone the same question here. You can find lots of information on Albany. You can go on to websites and Googles and so forth, but there's always a couple of little secrets that only the locals know about, and you don't get that information in those places. So if I was to ask you to share a couple of secret things to do or places to go in your area that's not general knowledge, what would you say?
All the obvious ones are out there, obviously. There's a place called Sharp Point, which I take people to, which is a limestone road, and it's halfway out to a place we call the Gap. And the Gap is, I think, better than the one in Sydney, where you got the Southern Ocean, and in a storm, there's 90 feet from, or 30 metres from the top of the rocks down to the water. Now, in a southern storm, the tops of the waves land in the car park.
Okay.
So that's not something that you'll see very regularly. They just smash against the rocks, and then the top of the wave lands in the car park, and you get drenched. And we advise that if you're going out there in winter in a storm, take a change of clothes because you'll get wet. And the Parks and Wildlife Service down here have built a platform out over it, and the thing with it is it's sprung steel. So the more people get on there, the more it tends to move. And I'm about a 10-second man on that, and I got to get off because it's just I don't enjoy it. But another place, the one I'm talking about is Sharp Point, is up overlooking that. It's rare. That's a great place. The Treetop Walk, which is at Walpole, which is about 90 kilometres away from here, they've built a walkway through the tingle trees, which are these trees that are about 30 to 40 metres high. And the platform actually moves with the trees in the wind. Again, not my biggest cup of tea, but some people absolutely love it, where the whole platform is moving as you're walking along in the time with the trees. So that's exciting as well. And then the Stirling Ranges, where nature-based walks, etc. There are a lot of walks. I think there's about 105 kilometres of different walks in and around the region that you really need to talk to a local to find out where they are. But we've got all that sort of information that we can give to people once they get here.
Sounds like a very rugged coastline. So not sort of still waters. It's quite an action-filled place by the sounds of it.
The Southern Ocean is a bit rough, and it's deep water. You don't have there's a massive reef which goes. They've just found which goes from here through to about Tasmania, which is the southern reef that they're investigating. But the waters are pretty strong. We have the University of WA here doing wave power research, because this movement of water down here is the best in the world apparently for wave power, and they've just got to find a way to keep the stuff from breaking apart. But the movement of the water is continually, you can generate electricity out of it. So that's one of the facilities we're looking at as well.
Well, you could become famous for wave power in the future.
Yep.
It sounds like a fantastic place to have, joy flights and helicopter rides and even balloon rides and that sort of stuff. So I think if I had some money to spare, I'd be setting up a business like that locally.
Well, one of the things we have a wind farm down here, which is 17 turbines on that, and that on average supplies 40% of our power for the town, and on a good day 78%. So with your balloon rides, with the winds that we've got here, I hope you got some relatives somewhere out in the Indian Ocean, because that's where you'll end up. And in the winter winds, you can get back to Queensland in a hurry.
Yeah, so not such a good idea for the balloons, you say?
No, I don't know. Well, I wouldn't be going up in them, because we have 2 months of the year, I think, which is sort of April and May, where we have light winds. The rest of the time it is windy. So you bring a jumper with you, but at the same time, because of the wind, we don't even think about pollution down here, because it ends up somewhere else. It's blown away. We've got fresh air coming off the ocean the whole time. Sounds
like a magnificent place. I've got to say, I've been preparing myself with a bit of bucket list of places I want to go and see, and I hadn't really considered Albany before today, but it sounds like a fantastic place to visit. I'm definitely putting that on my bucket list.
Oh, yeah, and it's a great spot to visit. No, I don't think anyone would be disappointed when they came here.
Fantastic. Dennis, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I really do appreciate your time. I know as Mayor you're a busy man, but it's really great for you to come out and let our listeners get to know a little bit more about your area, a little bit more about you, and the fact that your shire does want people to come and visit. Yep. I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Appreciate it, Roy. Anytime anybody wants to talk to us, we're only too happy to talk about. Very proud of what we've got, and very keen for people to come and talk to us and see us.
There you go, folks. Somewhere else where you're going to be welcome. Thank you. Okay, so we're done there, Dennis.